Hello folks, and today I'm going to be showing you a brand new glitch and some new discoveries that I've come across when it refers to the Japanese Super Smash Bros. 64. Well, now today I'm going to be going over a few different key terms. I'm going to go over boot, boot set, and boot scene. So the most important thing to know though is the boot order. The boot order is what happens the first time you boot the console. So as you see here, I'm in the I would say I'm in boot 4 right now because that's the character data screen, and then after that's the Smash demo. So right now I'm in boot number 1, and that's going to be the title screen. Now no matter what, that's going to end up, guess where? Boot 2, which is the title screen. So this is scene 1 because these two are connected. So after this, you're going to understand how these two are connected into a scene and why they're connected to a scene. Now I know this doesn't make any logical sense as to what I'm saying by scene, but the boot scene is the first two. Now this is the second scene. And now you may be like, you're just making an assumption, because obviously those two, I mean, how can you just be saying that without any contextual evidence? And so after this is the second scene. So we've already loaded scene 2, right? Or the third boot. That was the third boot right there, the how to play. Now it's gonna load into the fourth boot, which is still a part of scene 2. But because I've already done scene 3, or done, by done I mean skip, because I went back to boot 2. Now it's on boot 4, the characters. So now we've got Fox. Oh, well, I skipped that. So now it's just going to play scene 2 over again. So now it's not going to be Fox, but that's okay. So we're going to wait. Well, whoever it was, that's cool. So now it's going to go back to boot 3. Right. And now that I've gone back to boot 2, it's already loaded scene 2. So it's going to go to boot 4, now that I've already done 3. Because there'd be no point in just playing the same literal scene over and over. So now it's going to go back to boot 4. Now we've got Kirby, which I'm going to write down for a very specific reason I'm about to get to. Luigi. Right, it's on Dreamlands. Okay, now that I know it's on Dreamlands, I'm going to go up to Dreamlands. I've written down Kirby and Luigi for Dreamlands. Very interesting. Just ignore what I'm doing right here. I'm going to get more into that here in a second. So just ignore what I'm doing right now. Just look away. Don't. It's going to be Planet Zebes. Watch. See, told you. We're going to do that same thing again. Just ignore the process until I get to it. Kirby, Luigi, it's going to be Peach's Castle. Right. So, the reason this is the occurrence is because when we load the second scene, and this is how you know there's 3 different scenes, is because the game checks for if you've loaded scene 2 or not. So that boot set exactly is set to 0 when you start the game, and then when you load scene 2, it sets the boot set to 1. So it picks a random character pair, and then we'll put them in the Smash demo. But technically, because we've never actually loaded scene 2 properly from boot 3, boot 4 cannot exist without boot 3. So, because we're trying to load boot 4 without ever loading the how to play, the game thinks, oh, well, we're going to send you to boot 4 without ever loading scene 2, which, because we never loaded scene 2, it crashes. So, how can we prove this? Well, what I do, typically, and so what I'm going to do is to prove this is reset the console. Now we've only loaded scene 1 there because we went from the intro boot 1 to boot 2. the title screen. Now we're going to data, characters, and because character data screen is actually the 4th boot in the game. As you see, we got Mario, Luigi, you know, and you're like, well, we've already loaded all the characters. That shouldn't be a problem. But what I'm doing is on 2 separate remotes, I'm actually going to push the A button at the same time. And when it's successful, you hear that. Now you notice nothing's happening, and that's because I've crashed the console. That's because, like I said, you're loading boot 4 without ever loading scene 2. So the scenes have to start in proper. So technically, if I loaded the title screen without ever loading scene 1, the game would crash. So if I deleted boot order 1, or boot 1, it would crash. Right, we understand that. See, but the intro is always going to be startup. So that's boot 1 is always going to be on the start of the game. So there's nothing you can do to avoid starting scene 1. But because I've avoided boot 3, boot 3 has not occurred yet on this system. So I'm going to do it again. And it crashes. So folks, that's a new discovery-ish glitch that I've happened to run by in reference to the actual boot order itself. Now, you might say, well, this could lead to some potential other glitches. You're right, it possibly could. But boot 5 necessarily will always go to boot 1. If you hit start on boot 5, that'll take you to the title screen, then to boot 1. If you go back, let me show you once more. So if I go back from the menu to the title screen, then it'll take me to boot 1. If I stay idle for 5 minutes on any screen other than like actively in the actual physical game itself and the training mode, it will take me back to title screen. And what else? Obviously boot 1 always takes you to boot 2. But yes, loading 3 loads a new character pair for boot 4, and because we never loaded 3 in, it never loaded boot 4, and because of that it always crashes. And then, you know, boot 4 is the transition to boot 5. Same as the title screen's transition for most everything. So for this, I'm calling it character data. Character data boot. Because why? Because if you don't boot the game properly through both 2 scenes, the game does not load the character data properly and crashes. So yeah, working on planning out some pretty big glitches, and planning on trying to name and list every pair there is in the in scene 3. So I've already named every stage order. So there's 8 different stage orders, typically like the one we just saw with Kirby and Luigi, for example. Had a pattern of Dreamland, Planet Zebes, Peach's Castle, Congo Jungle, Sector Z, Yoshi's Island, Saffron City, Hyrule Castle. And that's just one of 8, so that's not bad. It just goes in order, but like if it goes in like an order like this, and like let's say there's just one stage at the bottom, and it gets moved to the top. That's all that happens. Like, or actually the other way around. So the one at the top is actually the first one, and the one at the bottom is the very last one. So for, let's say, Dreamland, Planet Zebes, like Dreamland being first, Planet Zebes being second, if one character order starts with Planet Zebes, you would just move Dreamland down to the bottom, so Dreamland would be played last. Obviously, that's how that works. And so, as of right now, I've been trying to find every character pair order, and it's been very tedious, but that's okay. I mean, as you see here, it's not been too bad. It's literally just I guess you could start the console from fresh, but it's very RNG heavy. I've noticed some character pairs tend to pop up more typically when you fresh reset your console and your boot set. So your boot set you need to be added onto. And I think eventually, after some time, your boot set adds up so much that something, I'm not saying what, happens. So I'm very curious to see what happens when you keep adding a 1 onto your boot set. It's a very interesting thing to think about, but or if that could be RNG dependent for speedruns, it's unknowns to me. So yeah, but anyways, now that we've gotten boot order, boot scene, boot set, and your boot number out of the way, and the glitch itself, as you can see demonstrated here very perfectly by crashing my game. Thank you very much for watching, and peace.